Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. We are at Monster Mania, sitting in the hotel room, and we've got a small audience of our friends Jackie, Joe, and Kyle. But the guest on this week's episode is one half of the Fright School podcast, Joshua.
Hello.
And it smells like a skunk in here.
So before we dive in to the movie of this week, Cheerleader Camp, how about you give us a real quick rundown on what is Fright School?
So Fright School is this project that I do with my friend Joe, who had never been a fan of horror, never seen anything ever. Well, he saw The Ring. So, if that counts.
Yeah.
And we were talking one day, I think we were watching American Horror Story, and he was like, my other friends are all big horror nerds, and so we kept talking about how, American Horror Story references all this American horror, and he didn't know what we were talking about. So we were like, hey, let's show you these movies, and we'll talk about their socio-cultural, political, whatever, context that they are in, and it also tends to have a pretty queer bend because we're queers.
Really?
So there you go.
You guys you're blowing my mind right now. I know. But no, I gotta say though,
I'm surprised you're not.
So's my wife.
Yeah, right.
So I do have to say though that I'm super happy with the way that Fright School works because you don't get too bogged down in the the social implications of horror to not have it be entertaining. Your pacing's very good. So anybody that listens to Horror Movie Night, you will enjoy Fright School because they're basically us, but smart. Smarter. I'm pretty fucking smart, all right, but
yeah.
you got Brian Kelly over here really dragging down the average. That's basically my intro for Brian Kelly to do his laugh, so that worked out perfectly.
And I will say, I really, really love the first, now the show, there's this cool 20, 30 minutes at the start that's just you and Joe catching up. And it's super entertaining every week. I'm like, I do want to know what's going on in their lives. All right, so
it's just Joe trying to derail us so that he doesn't have to actually face the horror he's watched. Let's talk about Drag Race, musicals. What else is gay?
Welcome to Horror Movie Night because that's what we do too.
Yeah, it's all right.
And speaking of things that are gay, it's perfect that you're on the Cheerleader Camp episode, one of the campiest films, pun intended, that we've ever watched on this show.
I mean, it's no sleepaway camp, but it's up there.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more self-evident.
It was something.
It certainly doesn't remember to be a horror movie at the start.
Yeah, we have a good 40 minutes of
movie.
dramedy, teen dramedy, and then we get we're actually supposed to kill people.
It's kind of you to call it teen dramedy. It just feels like it's a Meatballs movie. For
It
the
really
first 40
is
minutes.
fucking Meatballs. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
And this
Absolutely.
movie broke my rules for Beetlejuice because I didn't put the work in since the girl's boyfriend is just Kmart fucking Beetlejuice. So.
I try because I'm a huge fan of Beetlejuice and I love that Beetlejuice derailment every time. We got to talk. We got to talk about it. So I was looking God, how can you connect this to Beetlejuice?
I feel like
I was just like, there's
Couldn't figure it
Michael
out.
Keaton.
We're so
Jade's
close,
that's
Brian.
Michael Keaton. That's not Michael Keaton. I'm like, it is Michael Keaton. Next movie.
You know what? I'm going to give you a pass because you've done it for almost 100 movies. Almost 60 movies. So we're just going to let you off the hook here, pal.
It's going to be a rough go this weekend because I don't usually watch movies while I'm traveling. So
Yeah. So since we're live, this is
live and my first Monster Mania, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Which is super
He's-
exciting.
Yeah, and we can't give him any sort of drugs to calm down, so he's basically living off of adrenaline and
5 hour
monster.
energy.
Yeah.
I only experienced it for 20 minutes and I love it already because it's do you remember those goth girls in high school that used to pick on and then got really hot?
They're all
These are
here.
the ones that didn't.
Okay. You went the
And they all
exact
just
opposite.
come full steampunk, and it's a lot of trench coats outside. I'm talking about the smoking section, guys. I'm sure everyone in the lobby is beautiful. This is the smokers that I'm referring to.
Dude, Saturday
So there's some
is
pretty
gonna
beautiful
blow your
women
mind. So
wandering
this is
around.
a Friday night. Friday night's different than Saturday. Saturday during the day brings a completely different crowd, and you're going to be like, I retract everything I said. So our next
I was
episode.
just bitter because I had a steampunk girl say, move! And I was just standing. So,
Man, what a
all the
jerk.
beautiful women at Monster Mania, I am just bitter. I am a bitter man.
It's okay because you can be bitter with every other woman in the world now that you're engaged.
I
Hello.
Yeah, congrats.
Somebody's gonna marry you.
Yeah. Listen, I've been asking
Congrats.
myself that nonstop.
That's why he did a bunch of push-ups on the plane, and that's why when I saw him and gave a hug, I was like, your biceps feel good. So, cheerleader camp.
So cheerleader camp.
After bear cub camp.
So we start with like some killer pom-pom nightmare.
Yeah, with Betsy Russell, Jill
Yes.
Tuck, and Saw, which I really liked
Yeah.
right away. I was like, hey, I know her face.
There was a real lull in her career when I was checking on IMDb. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, that name's familiar, and she did nothing of
Yeah.
note from like 1988 till 2005.
Yeah.
The funniest part about that is that the both of you have like this, oh, I know this person. Terry Weigel is the person that I recognize because he's a play-by-play from the early 90s, late 80s or 90s. Oh, my God. That explains everything about her acting chops because they're just abysmal.
Yeah.
She's like the worst.
There was a
This is
lot
even
of that in
before
this.
the breast augmentation. So she's just like, I don't even have fake cleavage to keep you
Distract.
From, yeah, thank you so much.
Distract from the
Joshua
terrible
knows.
There's like a
He knows,
weird,
God.
like talking about the topless scenes in this movie. There's a weird like battling topless scene where
Yeah.
one girl's topless and the other girl's like, "Well, I'll see about that," and then also takes off her top.
So that's never happened at cheerleader camp or any camp ever in the history of humankind. So don't get your hopes up, heterosexual white men that are watching this film. It is just.
Who are
Yeah,
hiding
and any
randomly in the
boner
bushes and
immediately
drag.
gets washed
Yeah,
away.
Oh
Guy
yeah,
in drag.
this movie is like there's drag in this movie. It's so crazy and weird, and they're all like, "Oh, you."
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
one's
there's no such thing as like rape in this movie. Like,
No, and there's also no
everything
such
is
thing as-
okay in this movie.
There are no responsibilities. Nobody has any responsibility. Nobody. There are. Nothing happens if you're a complete sexual predator in this film. It's so strange.
Well, because
No,
they're just
totally.
like, why should we be scared? He's a 30-year-old man with a camera following us around in cheerleader.
Yeah,
camp.
he's very creepy.
Who's got
Although
a-
he did get Winnie the Pooh'd during the moon
he's got a
drive-by,
lot of ass.
which is great.
God.
That is a
damn.
lot of ass in that mooning.
Yeah.
I've never seen a 12-inch crack in my life.
Yeah.
So what's
that's-
also weird is that like, you guys remember, Brian? Were you on when we did Killer Party? No, that was Dylan,
Dylan,
wasn't
that
it?
was Dylan.
Yeah. So Dylan was on when we did Killer Party, and there is so much like rapey frat bro bullshit in that movie. It's a great flick, but like minus
It's awesome.
minus
Minus all that, yeah.
Calm down, y'all. So it's a really great Evil Dead ripoff minus the rapey frat bros in it, and that dude in this movie, like I don't remember.
I didn't
you
write
guys
down his
anybody's
name.
names?
Nope.
Nope.
I
I
sure
didn't
as
write
fuck
down
didn't.
any notes.
This is becoming a common theme in horror movie night where we pick movies where I don't give a shit about anyone.
There's not a person that's worth caring about in this.
Yeah, so maybe when I get later in my notes, I'll be like, oh,
I think
so-and-so's name.
I think I did start using names, but I'm so disconnected from the movie now that like I don't remember who these names refer to, and that's not good.
You know,
Well, they don't
I-
care about each other either. People keep dying, and they're like,
Like,
whatever.
Yeah,
let's
no
go
one
drink
reacts.
Nobody
vodka.
cares
Like,
except-
whatever.
It feels like
Betsy,
it should
whatever her
end
name
as
is.
being all a dream
Allison.
because no one acts normal when their
No.
friends
Yeah.
go missing.
You know, I'd actually like this movie more if it was a dream because it has that dream logic shit that you expect, but we are missing an incredibly important scene here.
is it the fart joke? Because that made me laugh hard.
No, I had
probably
that too.
should've.
but not even a minute into this movie, there's a panty shot, and I don't know what I expected. Like, because it's called cheerleader camp. Maybe they're not panties, but they're like the what do you call them? Those little skivvies the spanx. The girls wore over their panties when they were cheerleaders because, you know, when you're wearing a 6-inch skirt and your ass is 5 inches long, you know, you're going to show some butt when you do a high kick. But this movie is, it's a really weird amalgamation of misogyny and complete granola.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Yeah.
the most, I'm sorry, oatmeal. It's not even granola. There's no sugar to this movie. It is plain fucking oatmeal at room temperature 90% of the flick, except for a couple, like, salacious moments and some kills.
And some pretty sweet tween Teen Witch level rapping.
Oh my! That was one of my notes.
We all got notes about the
Not
Teen Witch
since
rap.
Teen Witch have we seen such painful white rapping.
Are you
it's
kidding?
Delicious.
And it's one
Our
of those-
episode about Teen Witch is baller.
It's one of those things where it's like the rapping style's like, her name is Brenda. She's no pretender.
You know that
They got
Matt
the
can't get through an
sunglasses.
episode without taking the opportunity to write down that shit and then rap it to us because he is the whitest rapper ever.
Yep. Watch out.
Mrs. Tip Tits is the nickname of the cheerleader, the head, what do you want to
Yeah.
call it? Like the coach or something of the.
Who's from like the John Waters School of Acting? Like everything she do, I kept thinking she was in a John Waters movie.
Yeah.
Like the way she
thought
talked.
she was
scene
too.
Was so John Waters.
Yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for
football sex
Divine
scene?
to
Yeah.
just show up.
It was.
She was still alive at this time. She had her chance.
I don't know. I feel like she saw the script and she was like, "There's no shitting in this movie. I don't want it."
Right.
And so they found the next best thing, which is a woman who could pretend to be a cheerleader, and then the sheriff could pretend to be the football player, and they could have an extended fetish sex scene, which is just so odd. I mean, it's so kinky and so odd. Like it goes on for 6
Well,
minutes.
teens are being murdered around them, but yeah, why
Brian, I've got your Beetlejuice, by the way.
not?
I just remembered
I
that
tagged Matt in.
I just wrote this down. I forgot. The fat guy in this movie, his name is Tim. His character's name is Tim. He plays the fat clown in Batman Returns that the Penguin shoots.
Oh, wow.
Are
Beetlejuice.
you serious?
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
That's
so cut
amazing.
everything Matt just said. So the fat guy in this movie, his name is Tim, and he plays the clown in Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, who was in Beetlejuice. I looked that up myself and delivered it to you because that's what I do, guys.
So that's so weird that guy went from being. Maybe that's
It's
not so weird
more
because he
weird
got to
that
be in a
Matt
Tim
knows
Burton
that.
flick, right?
Huh?
Like he got to be in a Tim Burton flick.
Yeah.
but he's a no-name clown. Is that the clown that gets the dynamite in his stomach? No,
No. He's
that's
the one that
Strongman.
literally says, like, Joker, Penguin, I don't know about kidnapping
Oh.
kids. And then he shoots him and rolls him into the water. His character is
Damn.
literally named Fat Clown.
Did
Like,
you get
in
fatter
IMDb.
for that movie?
It's all about pros and cons. It's like when that super attractive woman sleeps with you, but she doesn't want anyone to know, and you have to keep it a secret. You know?
This is a rolling theme in our podcast. I think it's going to only happen more and more often as we get closer to the wedding.
Yeah. Jade was that super attractive woman, so it's okay.
Did anyone write down any quotes from the movie that they wanted to shout out?
Yeah.
I've got 2 of them.
Honey on her muffin? I don't even know. We are 40 minutes into an 85-minute movie with 1 kill. You know, and I also have a note that this says that this movie will be 30 minutes long if not for all the dream sequences, which are
dude.
really...
Yeah.
Unreasonable. I wrote down, "You're a mascot, not a human," was a quote that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And also the one cheerleader goes, I read a story about this choo-choo train, and what it taught me was that if we think we can, then we probably can.
Okay, so am I the only person that feels like the mascots eating lunch part is the best part of the movie?
Oh, it's so funny.
This movie does not know what it wants to be.
It wants to be a teen frat sex comedy.
It wants to be. You're right. It wants to be meatballs or like fucking Porky's 2.
Yeah.
But
And then someone gets shears in the back of the skull, and they're
Okay,
like, "Oh shit, we made
that
a horror
kill is-
movie."
I like
great.
that. I wrote
That's
that
the
was the
best
kill
kill.
I really
that
liked.
was the
I
best
like,
kill of the
okay,
movie.
that was
Is there a
nice.
better kill than that in Cheerleader Camp?
It's certainly not slashing people up with pom-poms in a nightmare.
Yes, the razor blade pom pom.
You know, I like the
something.
okay. So the concept of razor blade pom poms is sweet, but I think that the execution is so disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am not an expert. I am not a filmmaker. I'm not a producer. I have no idea how much this movie cost or made.
$10.22. Yeah. No,
That was straight off the wiki.
Straight off the fucking wiki.
There's just man, I
Oh,
wrote,
oh, Matt,
these
what do you-
kills are so low energy. Like as the movie
Yeah.
continues, it's just kind of there.
This movie starts really fun, and then it becomes insufferable because they really don't crank it up at all. It's like they have the same level of camp as in the first 20 minutes as they do in the last 40, but they never really. To do camp, you have to have to crank it up, right? Like that's kind of the whole point of camp is to like, okay, we establish the level of ridiculousness, and then we have to move it up a couple.
The only other like truly ridiculous thing that happens in this movie is like there's no fucking way that band would ever get booked to play cheerleader.
What
Okay,
a weird.
so weird. Also, go ahead, Brian.
Let you go because my quarrel is much more immature than yours.
Are you talking about the fact that the fat fuck like drinks an entire bottle of water, which is supposed to be vodka, and then it's like, hello, it's so ridiculous.
That's better than what's actually bothering me. What's actually bothering me is what justifies a camp, because there's 3 groups of cheerleaders.
Right?
They should have had twice the cast for this movie to make it work. Because you're right. There are 9 girls in this movie, like 3 groups. Oh no, I'm sorry. There might be 15 because I think there are 3 groups of 5, and they're like,
And then they're
only
dudes
one of you
wandering
can
around.
be queen.
And there's no
Second
explanation
non-doc.
for why Tim or Brett are at this camp.
It's because they're the throwers.
At least,
Are they the throwers? Because they look like the
yeah,
rappers.
at least Brent fucks.
Like-
You know what I mean? That's like a
he's-
fired up thing.
He is cleaning up as
Yeah.
a cheerleader.
Okay,
Just
and why
mopping
is
the floor.
why is the survivor girl like with him? Because it makes no sense. She doesn't even like him. He's always trying to bang someone else. He has no scruples because it's like he doesn't ever question like maybe I shouldn't cheat on my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the other reason it's like a really bad '80s porn with no sex. Like all the guys are ugly as fuck, in my opinion. In my professional opinion.
all 2 of them.
And like the girls,
I'm
I mean,
gonna
the girls
trust
are
Joshua
fairly
more than I'm
attractive,
gonna-
but they're like all going for this guy. Isn't that Leif?
The cutest girl
Leif Erikson,
in the
what?
movie is
No,
dressed as a
Leif-
mascot for 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that girl.
Brent.
Okay, so who is her name's Corey,
Yeah.
and
Corey,
she is truly the cutest girl in the entire
She
movie.
looks like the
She's
girl
gorgeous.
from the Bangles.
Yeah, well, which is obviously Matt
Suzanne.
Yeah, I
Whatever
can't
her name
remember her
is.
name. She
Susanna
married the guy
Gana?
who did the
Yeah.
Austin Powers movie. She's very cute. She's like-
So, are we all in agreement that the mascot scenes and the mascot actress are really what make this movie watchable?
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, obviously we spoil everything, but I love that she turns out to be the killer. Like I like.
But the
that-
thing is that I saw it a mile
oh,
away.
I mean, it was obvious, but
They phoned that shit in.
especially
I
when
feel
she
like
starts
20
telling
minutes in, I'm
Allison
like,
what to do. She's like, "Okay, you've got to shoot Brett," and she's like, "Okay." Like, no.
Killer! No!
Oh, his no, amazing.
Well, that was the only thing, like, I'm watching the movie. I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to come at this with a Fright School perspective? Because it's like,
There's no
I am
fucking way.
curious.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So the only thing I can say is like, okay, that girl is not. Friends listening who take psychotropic medications for whatever you may have. Don't let your friends tell you to stop taking your pills. When she comes in like, no more pills, I'm like, that girl is a problem. So like, she doesn't want you to take your pills. That's not very good advice. She's got to be the killer. That's
So-
kind of what I thought when that happened.
Did I miss anything in this film where they discuss why she is on the medication?
Nope.
From the nightmares is what I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
but
But
that's
why does
about
she
it.
have
They
those
don't say what it
nightmares?
is she's taking either, I think. But
Yeah.
I was still like, that's not good advice. So
No.
don't
Well, it's
don't
so-
stop taking meds. Titrate properly.
PSA, HMN and
That's
Fright
all
School
I could
listeners.
bring to this.
Do not, we repeat, do not stop taking your medication unless ordered by a psychiatrist and general practitioner.
Well, I say that only because I saw on Facebook somebody asking what essential oils can I replace my trazodone with?
No.
Don't do that.
Are you sure they weren't trolling you? Because that sounds insane.
Talk to your psychiatrist, please.
So here, I've got the Fright School perspective.
Okay.
And I'm not presenting it. I'm basically just doing.
You're
so
pitching it.
I'm
I like it.
I'm
Go
pitching and he's catching. Apparently.
Joe will catch. Actually, I don't even know that about you, Joe. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. What the fuck? He's not even able to defend himself. So unfair. God damn. Just because
This
he's
was the
nicer
best
than you
idea.
doesn't mean he's
Oh, God, I'm
the
so glad we
bottom.
decided
It's
to do
true.
these episodes.
Maybe
It's-
he's verse. You don't know these things.
I don't. Joe and I don't. We don't
And
talk
also,
about
that's
that.
super weird. So that's the weird thing about homosexual friends is
Yeah.
like, do you not talk about your sex life? Because all of my friends know my sex life.
Well, the problem is we all see each other on the apps, so you're like, oh,
yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
just gonna keep going. I don't
But
need
you
to
don't.
know.
You don't like investigate
know what Joe wants
So
to
so
do.
on like Grindr.
Yeah.
It does. I've never been on Grindr. Ever since Craigslist.
Another shock.
Ever since Craigslist is gone, there's no way for me to get some strange dudes, in my neighborhood. So,
yeah, I'm
so
sorry.
on Grindr, do they actually have when you go on?
It's like a menu.
Yeah, is there like verse, bottom,
Yes.
top, all that bare,
Yeah,
all that stuff?
yeah.
So.
There's a place for the size. People want to know exact dimensions.
So size queen
Wow.
is that like an
That's
entire? Is there a way if you're a size queen to like find what's the opposite of a size queen?
Well, it depends on how terrible of a
Size kid.
person you are. Because, I guess if a guy's like, oh, it's 9 inches, and he shows up and it's clearly not, and you go, get the fuck out.
Can you give
Oh,
that?
you guys
or you go, we'll work with
You
it.
guys could never work with straight men because it is
we're all
never 9
liars.
inches, and we always tell you it is.
Dude, I don't know what's wrong with 7.5. Like that's. My
I'm just
go-to.
saying, if you're like size queen, like 7.5 is good.
Fair.
Does it
All
come
right,
with like
so
a Yelp option too?
Yeah.
2 stars. He was a
There's
liar.
rate your trick. Yeah. You can totally go on and
You can rate people?
yeah, rate your trick. You guys, this is
Wow,
so
Brian,
educational.
This is amazing.
This is exactly why we had
you could
on.
totally be like, here's his screen
Dude,
name, and
Joe.
he lied about this and that.
Next week, you got some big asshole to fill. Sorry, Matt. You might want to
With
cut
the-
that part. You got some
Joe.
big Trojans to fill.
Big Trojan.
All right, so
Magnum.
Back
Anyways,
to the queer perspective on Cheerleader Camp. Would you consider this worth your time? Would you consider this movie enough of like the subgenre of like the John Waters-esque does it have enough to make it really a cult film when you are like, okay, you're gonna talk to some other people that are into queer cinema, is this, it's not really a cult classic, it's pretty obscure. It was by the way, Matt didn't mention, but this is a listener submitted.
Yeah, I should probably pull up that
nice.
email.
So maybe read the email, and then Joshua can kind of give his.
Did the person send something that was queer perspective?
No, but
Oh,
it
okay.
just went for
Okay.
since it's so campy and the main
I
quote
just
unquote
don't know if
survivor
I
girl.
find it campy. I think it's
pretty
bad.
It's pretty on the nose. Though.
I wanted to
well,
turn it
okay.
off.
What was
It's
the last
like, what
Fright
is going
School
on?
episode as of this recording?
What did we just put out?
No, not necessarily what you put out, but what did you just record?
Oh, I was audition. Yeah.
Okay, audition. So you guys definitely do, and I know this from listening to your show, but you guys definitely do a lot more serious stuff so that you can talk about socioeconomic and you're way more in depth and serious than us, and we're definitely going for the ha-has because we. Dick jokes, haha. That's
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
what we
awesome.
do.
You guys are awesome.
No, it's not that. I'm just saying. I know we're awesome.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. Okay, good.
Matt, cut that too.
No, I just always think about God, I hope we don't sound too elitist. Is this going to be film? Is this Oscar worthy? Then we
no,
can't
I don't
watch
think
it.
that's what you
Not
guys
that the
come off
Oscars
as,
aren't garbage,
but you go for a little bit more meat than.
Yeah.
than
I do try to find films that I consider to be good and to be like a linchpin.
yeah, we definitely
in
go
horror,
for. Okay, is this a good movie? This is bad for horror movie night. So, as far as horror movie night goes, this is pretty lean
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
worthwhile, memorable stuff. But it still isn't. Personally, for me, it wasn't a bad watch. I didn't have to fast forward anything. I didn't feel too bored by anything. The pacing wasn't bad. I knew exactly what was happening as it was
Yeah.
happening, but it felt very light.
Yeah,
and
I
that's,
like
guess,
the
what
ending. I
meant
want
by-
to throw that out there. I like the ending shot of
when
Corey
she's
doing
giving,
the cheer.
Who
I did
do
like
you
that,
love?
too.
Who do you love? Corey. I actually wrote that down all in caps. That's the only reason I know how it goes. I wish this movie had a bigger budget, and I wish it had a bigger cast.
I mean, let's
Because
just
I feel like
remake
the-
it.
I just
Kyle,
wish it
you're
would have
in
seemed
here.
like they wrote it instead of making it up as they went along. Because that's what it felt. I was like, is this an improv project?
So this is the reason why I'm not so upset about that, because
Yeah.
that happens a lot on horror movies. They lose the plot about 30 to 40 minutes in most of the time with what we pick, but there's usually something that we can kind of
As I
walk
watched
away
this,
with.
I kept remembering our episode that we did with Mike from 5 Second Films on Neon Maniacs, where he kept saying the movie kept forgetting to be a movie. Like that's how I felt watching Cheerleader Camp. Was like, this movie doesn't know what it is, and it's just taking swings at everything.
I think this movie would be more unwatchable if it wasn't the predecessor to the past month that we've just done. Because this was probably our worst month.
And
not episode-wise. Our episodes are great. Listen and subscribe.
But March was a tough month of movies.
The movies were
Oh, you mean for listeners to minimum, they were rough for you?
No.
I mean,
he's talking about like doing
4, Neon Maniacs,
Even
Graveyard Shift.
You put this
Ninja
below
3.
Neon Maniacs, which is half a movie.
This came out the same year as Beetlejuice, right?
No, I'm not putting
1988?
it below
It
that.
did.
I'm saying it's somewhat not as shitty to me to watch because of everything that it followed.
But see, that's the thing is Neon Maniacs definitely has more shining spots for me. You know, like
Nah.
there's better.
No.
There's
Strong
are
pass.
you? Get the fuck out of here, guys! Seriously, like Neon Maniacs has that sweet scene where the hand gets wet and then it melts like Spike and Gremlins.
Yeah, a scene.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good scene.
yeah. What does Cheerleader Camp have?
Corey.
Yeah,
Right.
she's fun,
Corey.
but she's no like 30-year-old playing a 12-year-old in Neon Maniacs.
The shears in the back of the head.
The shears in the back of the head was a really cool kill. I also
Yeah,
really
I didn't-
want to
Crazy Old Man Red Herring is what this movie
Crazy
has.
Old Man Red Herring.
Yes, who thought he was in a Rob Zombie film?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about your all's zombie talk and like that kind of, hillbilly, backwoods, like all
He
his
really
characters.
is not. It has no place in this movie. Tim getting gutted, I was okay with, but it just looks so lazy.
It was
Yeah.
so. You know what I wanted from that scene was I wanted where Mike from 5 Second Films when he gets ripped in half and Freddy Massacre through, and they're like he got over his fear of heights.
Yeah.
We never established that.
If you're gonna have a guy that fat, you need someone gut it, and it needs to be at least a 30-second scene of just more and more guts coming out of that.
you know
Or
what?
the fact that they turned him into like the fact that this movie absolutely is relentless in fat jokes with this.
Yeah.
poor guy.
It's insane.
Like it's
You
offensive.
ever feel bad for
Yeah.
guys like that?
Absolutely.
Not just guys,
Yeah.
women too. Anybody in the 80s who is fat and cast as a fat person in a film, they are so fucking
That's the
mean. You're
only
like, it's not
characteristic
worth
that they
the
write
paycheck.
about them.
Yeah. And then it's like a literal attack on his fatness by ripping his stomach open and
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
it pour out. I mean, it's just, the whole film. He's just a joke.
talked about that on last podcast on the left too, about the newest season of True Detective,
Well,
about
because,
how
like you
some
said-
woman was hired and her only role in the show was for the cop to be like, "Look at that fat pig you're marrying,
Wow.
the disgusting fat, disgusting monster."
Yeah.
At least,
You know, we really
this is
should-
why I always have respect for, was it Chris Columbus or John Hughes when they did Home Alone for Buzz's girlfriend? They were like,
They just put a boy in it.
get
Yeah.
a boy and dress him up in drag, because we do not want this poor girl's entire existence to be, look at
Just
how
that.
ugly
Yep.
she is in this photo.
And you know who's fat and disgusting now is Buzz. I saw him in Blue Ruin, and he is not aging well.
No.
Let's say that.
Buzz wasn't aging well in 1990 in Home Alone.
No, but Buzz
He had a weird face.
was Buzz
Wow,
looked like
Matt.
I don't think I've
a
seen
guy
Home
that
Alone
got
since
laid.
1990.
Most of the time, the girl was probably not in a position to consent. He came off as he had that look, but he still seemed like a guy that got laid. New Buzz? No.
All right, is
The
there
email. There was an email,
Yeah.
right? And something about queerness.
Is there
Oh,
any
yeah.
other notes that anyone wants to get through before I read the email from Steve and we dive into
Let's do this shit.
double
Yeah.
features?
Go
All right.
for it.
So the email that we got from Steve actually doesn't have a lot of. Well, he toots our horn, which is cool, but he doesn't really say a lot of why he wanted us to talk about Cheerleader Camp. He said, "I wanted to send a quick thank you to you guys. Your podcast has become a must listen for me, and it's always hilarious. I make sure to tell anyone I know that loves horror movies that they should listen. My favorite episodes are Sleepaway Camp 2 and Demon Wind. Special shout out to Matt and Scott. Yeah. Special shout out to Matt and Scott for putting in all the serious work to make this thing keep going.
He knows my place.
Yep. No email would be complete without a couple movie suggestions. I think the 80s movie Cheerleader Camp would be a good watch for you guys. And if you want to get real wild, Skin Deep. Best go into that one fresh, or so I won't spoil anything, but it's got some, and then in quotes with a question mark, great practical effects.
Now,
Brian and I
Matt-
have seen Skin Deep.
Matt
Yes, we
has
have.
showed me Skin Deep on air, I believe, right? Or was that
No, that was after we recorded.
Okay,
I
we
sent
got
you the
done.
link.
So wizard behind the curtain kind of information about how we do our podcast, normally we record on like a weekend morning, and we'll record 2 episodes at a time, and then afterwards we'll spend another half an hour just shooting the shit, because Matt and Brian are brothers, and I am brother from another mother to them now, which is awesome for me, but it's like we don't know how to stop talking, and so Matt will be like, hey dude, have you ever seen this thing? And I believe it was before we actually did Sick, right?
Yeah, it was
Sadistic
before
Insane
Sick, but
Clown
this person
Killer?
emailed us, and I was like, yo, let me send you this over, because
It's awful.
Yeah,
it's the
bad.
dumbest shit I've ever seen. It's like worse than any. It's worse than that was that machete or the machete kill in Uncle Sam, right? Is that the?
Yeah, it's so the
Yeah.
scene
feel
that I
like
showed
was when we
him.
did Uncle Sam that we discussed that kill, right?
I'll try to describe this the best I can, but the scene is a brother and sister are running away from some type of weird practical effect monster that has axes for hands. And
Oh,
the
God,
little
that's right.
boy turns around and the monster swings his axe hand, and it cuts to the boy and he goes, "Ha, you missed." And then blood starts to come down his forehead, and then it cuts to a wide shot and he just splits in half entirely down the center. And it looks like shit out of UHF when
It
someone
is
gets cut in
so
half. It's
good.
so bad.
It's so good. Oh man, but
not that
we
Ichi the
couldn't-
Killer
we couldn't
kind of
pump
thing.
an episode out of it.
No, it would be that scene. That's the
Yeah.
only scene we're talking about. So double features. Josh, you are our guest. Would you like to start with what your double feature with Cheerleader Camp would be?
God, I don't even know. You guys go around first. Sorry.
All right, Brian,
You have
you kick
preparation
it off.
time.
You want me to go first?
I'll
Yeah.
go first.
Okay, Scott,
goes
you go
I'll
first. All
follow Scott.
I mean, I'm going the easy route with Sleepaway Camp.
right.
I mean, I Matt, you can pick Sleepaway Camp too. Because
No. I had 2 options and neither was Sleepaway.
I just love Sleepaway Camp, and I think that it's a much better, much campier take, and it was earlier than Cheerleader Camp. But can you imagine having quote unquote normies over to your house and being like, we're gonna watch Cheerleader Camp and then Sleepaway Camp for people that have never seen either, and probably people we could get my wife in on this, and we can be like, yeah, it's just like lighthearted teen romp flicks from the 80s, and then we have, like I feel like most of Cheerleader Camp is pretty light, and then in Sleepaway Camp we get the hot water burn, which is
Hot
my
water burn, baby.
hot water baby, no like bad water.
Oh yeah, baby like tea.
Yeah, I feel like you could really like
Deep cut Adam Sandler's skin.
I don't feel like
reference.
it's a deep cut anymore. Was that on air?
No,
or
that
off?
was off
No,
air.
that was all fair.
That was just in our chat one day.
Oh man, that really made me question how much I hate Adam Sandler,
I
because
love that. Yeah.
I wanna like not hate him anymore for how much he gave to me for that.
Baby don't like tea? Well, what's tea made out of? Oh, hot water.
All right, Brian, what's your double?
You're gonna
feature?
have to mix me down so low because I'm so loud.
I was trying to think, aside from Sleepaway Camp, what is a movie that is kind of a comedy but has to do with camp and murder? So the obvious answer is Bushwhack, starring Daniel Stern. That would be my double feature.
Might appear in next week's movie.
Who might be the reason that I thought of that for my double feature.
So,
Because we may be watching Suicide Squad with shitty 90s villains.
I up until literally recording this episode, I had every intention of picking Revenge of the Nerds as my double feature, because this is a very rapey 80s teen comedy for the most part. But honestly, if we're talking about campy films about cheerleaders, But I'm a Cheerleader is the double
That
feature.
is so disrespectful to But I'm a Cheerleader. Like, that is
I've never
not
seen it.
cool.
Should I watch it?
Oh, dude.
But I'm
Oh, But I'm a
Stars-
Cheerleader is awesome.
Really,
It's
really
it's starring
good movie.
RuPaul.
Yeah.
Out of
Wait,
drag.
RuPaul's in
And
it?
Natasha
All I know is-
Leone. I
Yeah,
mean,
Natasha
come on,
Leone.
and
all I know
Clea
is Natasha
Duvall.
Leone.
And I mean, it's
Who's
wonderful.
the girl? I never remember her name, but she's the villain in Casper.
Oh, yeah, Moriarty.
Yeah.
Kathy Moriarty?
Yeah,
Kathleen
she's
Moriarty?
so good in
Rachel
it.
Cole.
Yeah.
Such
She's
a
awesome.
warped. Like, that is a John Waters movie that John Waters just didn't get around to
Yeah,
directing.
totally. Totally.
All right, Josh.
I would go with Lucky McKee's 2001 version of All Cheerleaders Die.
Okay.
You
Oh,
know,
hey, so
I would do
funny
that, 'cause
story.
I love Lucky McKee.
I just
May.
watched that a week ago.
There we go.
Never
Perfect.
not like it.
That's what I'd say. That'd be fun. That's something I would like torture my friends with. Those two back to back. That'd be fun.
All right, that all makes
so
sense.
can you do you have any positives to say about All Cheerleaders Die? I want to discuss that because it'll never be a horror movie night pick.
I mean, I like Betsy Russell in this.
Which one's Betsy Russell?
No. He's talking about the Lucky McKay movie.
Yeah, All Cheerleaders Die. Like,
Yeah, he was not a fan of All Cheerleaders.
I was
Die.
actually really disappointed because May is one of my top 10 all-time favorite horror movies.
I think it's fun.
So they're both ridiculous.
Yeah, like I just think,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculousness. I don't know. I think that's what I was going.
I
for.
wanted it to be more ridiculous. I felt like it kind of didn't go far enough for me. And I guess I could say the same thing about Cheerleader Camp, right?
That's what I'd say with it. It could definitely, everybody's energy could be a lot more. Especially because nobody's reacting to like the friends they love.
Like half a bar as Xanax in both movies.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, if I was gonna play them, I don't know. I just think they'd be fun.
But don't you want to have people leave your house happy?
I just want people to leave my house.
Yeah, exactly. I just want them to leave.
Yeah, just get them out.
Get out. No. Hey, we smoke a lot of pot and hang out, so it's okay. It doesn't matter what's on the TV.
All right, well, that was Cheerleader Camp from 1988. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone go check out Fright School. It's an amazing show. Special thanks to Monster Mania for letting us have this great live event in our hotel room. Because
they said no partying. They did not say anything about no podcasting.
Nope. So we're going to stretch that rule. But we will be back next week with another one of your listener picks. And, we're going to dive deep to really analyze what this movie's about. So stay
Deep Blue
tuned.
The shark ate me.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.